Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, Jennifer, for the introduction and hosting of this incredible conference. I'm so glad to be here with you all today to help kick off this important conversation. Here in Florida, climate change is not just a theory or an abstract idea. We live with the consequences every single day. Hotter temperatures, more deadly natural disasters, flooding, sea level rise, red tide, and blue-green algae. And polluted air and water systems are real threats to our way of life. Climate change poses a huge threat to our environment, indigenous plants and animals, our jobs, our economy, our food supply, infrastructure, and of course, public health. In fact, just this week, the United Nations released a report showing that the world will be uninhabitable unless governments everywhere reassess their energy policies. It is clear that this is one of the most urgent issues of our time, and it is critical that we come together to act quickly to protect our natural resources for future generations. That's why the work that you all are doing is so important, and why I've made it a top priority during my time as Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services to prioritize protecting our environment. We need to take decisive action. Doing nothing is no longer an option. That's why I've spoken out decisively and unequivocally against all oil drilling in the Everglades, in Big Cypress, and anywhere within the state of Florida or off our coasts. I promise to keep fighting to protect the Everglades region from further exploration attempts, and I'm glad to have you all as a partner in this fight. And as we've seen in recent weeks with rising gas prices and the global oil supply in jeopardy because of Russia's war on Ukraine, it's critical that we develop energy independence. We can work to make that a reality by prioritizing clean and renewable energy sources. To that end, I work to introduce legislation with State Representative Kelly Skidmore and Senator Tina Polsky that is what was one of the boldest climate plans our state has ever seen, which would make serious steps to mitigate the impacts of climate change and set ambitious statewide greenhouse gas reduction targets here in Florida. Unfortunately, the legislature did not even hold one hearing on this piece of legislation. We also put forth a rule phasing out the use of polystyrene or styrofoam like food packaging at the 40,000 grocery stores, markets, convenience stores, and other businesses that our office regulates across the state. Studies have shown that chemicals with polystyrene foam may be linked to cancer, vision and hearing loss, birth defects, respiratory irritation, and damage to liver, kidneys, spleen, among other health effects. Polystyrene also poses long-term threats to our waters, our ecology, and marine and animal health. And these petroleum-based products may take more than 500 years to decompose and take up to 30% of landfill space. We did the heavy lifting to develop the rule, and all it needed was ratification by the legislature. But again, they failed to act. At the Department of Agriculture, we've also been able to change the rules when it comes to agriculture water policy in the state without the help of the legislature, and take bold action to increase accountability, transparency, and coordination. When I came into office in 2019, Florida's agriculture best management practices, otherwise known as BMPs, had not been updated in some cases for over a decade. As part of our Clean Water Initiative, our Office of Agriculture Water Policy has revamped and reinvented its program to ensure high levels of effectiveness. This includes common sense changes like prioritizing high value projects with our cost share program to get the greatest bang for our buck as our farmers, who are the best stewards of our land, continue to employ more precise and efficient nutrient and water usage practices. We're also focusing on supporting multifaceted practices such as cover crops and no-till drills that provide significant climate mitigation and carbon sequestration benefits. Without our Clean Water Initiative for the first time, ever, rather than relying on voluntary self-reporting when it comes to compliance, the Florida Department of Agriculture is conducting in-person site visits. For the first time ever, we will be taking action against those refusing to comply with state law to ensure that the best management practices are being properly implemented. For the first time ever, we will be working with producers in corrective action plans to refer cases of non-compliance to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for enforcement. And for the first time ever, the department is inspecting, collecting, and aggregating detailed records of its nutrients being applied by agriculture producers on the production landscape. This increases accountability, transparency, and provides the data necessary to inform decisions based on science. From starting from zero when I came into office to where we are now, we've come a long way to make these landmark changes. We know our work isn't done, but I'm proud to have our department stand up and take concrete action to promote clean water in our state when no other department has. I'm also proud that my department has been working closely with our Children's Trust to establish statewide renewable energy goals, using our office's existing statutory authority to start collecting annual data from our utilities and meeting these goals for our reports to the Public Service Commission. Another issue I want to touch on that is so important to so many communities in Florida is that of our gypsum stacks. We currently have more than 24 phosphate stacks sites across our entire state that pose a grave threat to Florida's environment, our waterways, and our way of life. Given the devastating impacts that Florida experienced as a result of these gypsum stacks over the past few years alone, it is unbelievable that anyone can think it is a good idea to expand or create new facilities that will pose additional threats to our environment. We all saw the effects of the catastrophic breach at the Piney Point gypsum stack last year that spilled 250 million gallons of toxic wastewater into the Tampa Bay and caused a terrible outbreak of red tide. Yet, the state approved a new permit for the first time ever to deep well inject heavy metals, radioactive byproducts, and other phosphate mining hazardous waste from Piney Point, despite the industry's own studies showing a high risk of mitigation, and despite experts telling the Florida Department of Environmental Protection that there are better environmental alternatives like reverse osmosis. We also know that the New Wales gypsum stack in Polk County suffered a catastrophic sinkhole in 2016 that released over 200 million gallons of contaminated wastewater into one of our key aquifers, which is kept from the public for weeks. Now, Mosaic wants to expand their gypsum stack there. The likelihood for sinkholes in that region, combined with recovery wells and remediation efforts that were completely ineffective in 2016, make it absolutely irresponsible to further expand the New Wales site. These stacks are ticking time bombs in our communities that will threaten our environment for generations to come. You may have heard me speak out about this before, because I've been the loudest voice in Tallahassee, unequivocally opposing any new permits or expansion of gypsum stacks in the state, as well as against allowing deep well injection at Piney Point. In fact, I provided a formal comment to let DEP know just how irresponsible I think these actions would be. And after the Piney Point disaster, I also called on DEP to address the safety issues at all gypsum sites across our state. I also sat down with the DeSoto County residents, and we were thrilled when their county commission took action, banning the establishment of new gypsum stacks in DeSoto. Unfortunately, it seems like these concerns we continue to raise are falling on deaf ears in Tallahassee. But that does not mean we will let our foot off the gas. As unreported remained us all urgency of the situation and just what's at risk. My office will be releasing information next week about our opposition to the Dolphin Expressway extension, so be on the lookout for that. We must all come together to protect our environment and our precious natural resources, starting right here in our very own backyard. Since taking office in 2019, I've made protecting our environment and natural resources, addressing climate change, and promoting clean energy some of my highest priorities. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share these with all of you today and some of the important climate smart initiatives my department has launched over the last year, and to again speak to my unwavering commitment to protecting Florida's environment. So thank you again for having me here today, and to everyone here for all the important work that you do every single day. Keep up the fight. Our environment and our future are worth it. And together, we will keep Florida growing. Thank you.